Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday afternoon, President Trump's Department of Justice made a massive play in the U.S. Supreme Court, and honestly, this is going to have some major impacts. Now, as many of you know, for months now, the radical progressives have been weaponizing the federal judiciary in order to prevent President Trump from utilizing his executive authority to deport violent illegal aliens. In fact, just the other day, a radically progressive federal judge actually ruled that a recently deported group of illegal aliens need to remain in U.S. custody even after having already been deported out of the country. To make this very clear, a federal judge ruled that President Trump isn't allowed to release illegal aliens out of the U.S. after having already safely delivered them there. But that's not all. This very same radically progressive federal judge also ruled that going forward, President Trump needs to operate in accordance with a series of burdensome and ridiculous requirements, like giving illegal aliens a 72-hour notice on their deportation. Seriously, the radically progressive federal judiciary is now demanding that President Trump give a warning to the illegal aliens that he's trying to apprehend and deport. It's absolutely insane. And now, folks, we have a lot more to talk about here, but before we do, I do want to say real quick that if you guys enjoy the daily news updates, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton. But okay, check this out. President Trump has actually been engaging in diplomatic efforts with various third-party countries that he can deport illegal aliens to whenever their home country is unwilling to take them back. Numerous home countries like Cuba, Laos, and Vietnam have just been flat out refusing to accept their own deportees, which has forced President Trump to come up with alternative and practical solutions. However, once again, yet another radically progressive federal judge passed through a ruling saying that President Trump isn't allowed to deport illegal aliens to any country that isn't their point of origin. So pretty much what this means is that if an illegal alien's home country refuses to take them back because, for instance, they're a violent human trafficking drug-dealing gang member, as we all know many of them are, then President Trump just can't deport them. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, the federal judiciary has gone absolutely insane. But as if all of that wasn't insane enough, one of these radically progressive federal judges actually accused President Trump of, quote, manufacturing chaos by working to deport all of these illegal aliens. Folks, you can't make this stuff up. Joe Biden allowing 20 million illegal aliens to invade the country? That's not chaotic at all. However, President Trump trying to deport all of them? No, you're not allowed to do that. It's too chaotic. But so, ladies and gentlemen, this is what brings us to the big news of the day. You see, these federal rulings have gotten so absolutely insane and anti-American that now President Trump's Department of Justice has decided to get directly involved, petitioning the U.S. Supreme Court to stop wasting time and actually issue a ruling that shuts down all of these radically progressive judges in the federal judiciary. As Attorney General Pam Bondi wrote yesterday afternoon, the invasion of illegal aliens must end, and the conduct of our nation's foreign policy cannot be directed by a single federal court judge. The DOJ has asked the U.S. Supreme Court to intervene to stop this insanity so that President Trump can continue to deport the worst of the worst illegal aliens. We will continue to defend President Trump's lawful authority to make America safe again. And so, folks, needless to say, right now, things are heating up fast. Really, the DOJ's appeal to the Supreme Court is a critical step towards restoring President Trump's ability to protect American citizens and secure our borders because ultimately, the fight for deportations is a fight for the rule of law and ensuring that America's borders remain safe and secure. As you all know, the Democrats have recently decided to go mask off, so to speak, and totally embrace the fact that they care infinitely more about violent illegal alien invaders than they do about American citizens. In fact, over the last couple of months, the Democrats have been collectively fighting a death battle to protect every single one of their beloved illegal aliens, and it's gotten so bad that now, even the run-of-the-mill center-left Democrats are now realizing just how insane and anti-American their party has become. In fact, as things currently stand, right this very moment, the Democrats have a national approval rating of just around 29%, which is the lowest it's ever been in all of recorded United States history. And so, really, this is just yet another example of why the Supreme Court needs to get directly involved and officially put an end to all of this federal judicial tyranny, because here's what's painfully obvious. These radically progressive federal judges don't actually represent anyone other than the elite class of anti American globalists. As we pointed out just a moment ago, right now, even your average run of the mill Democrat voters are in favor of President Trump's deportation efforts. The truth is, you don't really have to be a genius to realize that illegal alien invaders should not be allowed to take advantage of our nation's laws and right to due process in order to evade deportation and remain in the U.S. illegally. Especially when you consider that not a single one of these illegal aliens respected our nation's due process when they entered the country illegally, invading our nation, and not a single one of these radically progressive federal judges cared about due process as our country was flooded with 20 million illegal aliens. Due process for thee, but not for me. That has become the motto of the progressive left. But okay, so what are the odds that the Supreme Court actually listens to the Department of Justice and rules in favor of President Trump's America First agenda? Well, since its creation in 1870, the Department of Justice has actually made numerous direct requests of the U.S. Supreme Court, and over the last 150 years, the Supreme Court has actually ruled in favor of the DOJ around 80% of the time. So honestly, I'd say that things are looking pretty good for President Trump. But beyond that historical precedent, really, I think it's just pretty much becoming abundantly obvious to anyone with half a brain that these radically progressive judges in the federal judiciary are clearly overstepping their boundaries. The truth is, if the U.S. Supreme Court doesn't get directly involved and shut down all of these nationally sweeping universal injunctions that are slowly stripping President Trump of all of his constitutionally granted executive authority, we're going to lose our republic altogether. The way this is supposed to work is that we, the people, democratically elect representatives to lead the nation, which is exactly why we elected President Trump. And so what that means is that a bunch of unelected federal judges have absolutely no business undermining the democratic will of the people, which is exactly what they've been trying to do for months now. As we said earlier, President Trump's hardline stance against illegal immigration prioritizes the safety and well-being of everyday American citizens as opposed to a bunch of illegal alien invaders, which is exactly why we all just got done voting for him. So hey, ladies and gentlemen, now that the DOJ has officially petitioned the Supreme Court to issue a ruling on all of this, we're going to have our verdict here very soon. So let's all hope that the U.S. Supreme Court actually does the right thing, because right now, we need to start putting America first. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we wrap up, I do want to say real quick that we officially have a Morse News Twitter page as well as a Morse News Facebook page. So if you use either of those platforms, please go down below and drop a follow in order to get breaking news updates that relate to everything we talk about here in the YouTube videos. But everyone, that is going to be a wrap for today's video, so please go down below and drop a comment. Let me know what you think about all of this. Please like the video while you're down there, and like I said earlier, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton. Thank you all very much for tuning in today, and of course, as always, stay safe.